Good afternoon, friends. My name is Amar, and I'll be the host today for this particular webinar, which talks about 5 behaviors personal development. I'm very excited to be here today with all of you, and also along with me are my fellow colleagues, Samir, and also I'm very happy and privileged to have Yogesh Sood, who's our Chairman Managing Director also in this webinar. So we shall be starting now. The ground rules are that if you have any kind of questions or you want to ask something, you can unmute yourself and ask us those questions. My fellow colleague Anubhuti is kind of reading the chat box, and if something is coming up there, she'll kind of throw those questions at me. And if needed, we can even involve Yogesh for those questions. And that's how we're going to kind of move forward. What I show you here is the agenda for the day or for this webinar, wherein we'll talk about 5 behaviors for personal development for about brief 40-45 minutes. And we'll keep about 10 to 15 minutes for question and answer. So we shall start now. All right. We are VYID Group, Build Your Leadership Differentiators. We are the largest group in this side of the world, offering value-added services in HR, leadership development, business operations, manpower staffing, technology, executive coaching, organizational development. So you name it and we have it. With a turnover of about approximately 230 crores and more than 150 employees across India, we're very proud to say that we are having established relationship with one of the best brands, internationally acclaimed brands across the globe, the likes of Ken Blanchard, Vital Smarts, Eagles Flight, Wiley, Lumina Learning, Business Today Simulations, Inside Out Coaching, Persona, and Aster. And also, we have Door Training and Consulting here in India. So this is who we are. So I'll now go on to giving you an introduction in terms of 5 behaviors. 5 behaviors is basically, if you have read the book from the famous Patrick Lencioni, 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, that has been converted into the training program, which started off saying that 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. And this book has been the bestseller and has sold more than 3 million copies across the globe. Very simple but very powerful model that helps you to develop the skills to become a better team member. And also it helps you in building strong teams. Samir, can you please move on? Yeah. So the power of 5 behaviors basically is for organizations and for individuals. I'll tell you in a minute the difference between 5 behaviors for a team and 5 behaviors for personal development. Before that, let's see the small video here.
Since we were little, we've been thrown on one team after another. Soccer teams, project teams, work teams, you name it. And even though we have lots of experience being on teams, the only advice we've ever been given about how to be a good teammate is to play nice and everything will work out. But what if it doesn't? What if people spend more time politicking and posturing? What if people can't agree on which direction to take, so they go nowhere? What if everyone is just looking out for themselves? Turns out, there's more to good teamwork than just playing nice. That's where the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team comes in. Based on Patrick Lencioni's New York Times best-selling book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, this simple but powerful model consists of 5 behaviors that people can master to become a better teammate and to start building stronger teams. Here's Patrick to explain those behaviors.
There are 5 behaviors that all teams have to master to become true functional teams. The first is trust. Team members have to trust one another, which means they're vulnerable with one another. Vulnerability, which I think is one of the most important characteristics any human being can embrace in life, is nothing but admitting who you are as a person. It means they're capable of being completely honest and human with one another. That's important because it enables them to embrace the second behavior, which is conflict. Yes, conflict. When people are vulnerable and trustworthy with one another, they'll engage in conflict without fear. They'll debate issues and they'll be totally upfront with one another. As a result of that, they'll be able to embrace the third behavior, which is commitment. They'll commit actively to decisions, and they'll leave the room on the same page, totally committed to follow through on what they've agreed to. That commitment will give them the courage to hold each other accountable, knowing that they're doing nothing but reminding each other about what they've intended to do from the beginning. And that accountability will ensure that they get results, that they're focused on the collective results of the team and not their individual needs.
So it starts with trust, it goes to conflict, commitment, accountability, and ultimately, results. That's it.
Now, ironically, it's not that complicated to build a team. It's pretty simple in theory, but it is hard because it requires a lot of work over time and a lot of courage. But it's worth it because the benefits of a great team are truly extraordinary.
And it all starts with you. Teams are made up of individuals after all, and every individual has a part to play in making them stronger and more cohesive. It's how we get back to those teams that were fun and fulfilling, and we couldn't wait to be a part of.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Samir, for that video. Now, from the video, you could apparently see, the power of 5 behaviors. Before we talk about the power of 5 behaviors, let's look at our life, our day-to life in a team. Sometimes it can be very frustrating. Teams don't work well. There can be politics, there can be posturing, lack of alignment, sometimes inefficiencies eat up your time and energy. And sometimes you wonder, what am I doing here? This particular program is kind of addressing those. Samir, can you go back, please? Thanks, my friend. So basically, it addresses those critical.
Since we were little, we've been thrown on one.
Yeah, it basically addresses the critical need. It also gives you a platform to have a common language across the team and helps in building a high-performing team. Next slide, please. Yeah, a lot of you might have kind of done or heard about 5 behaviors team development. This is a new program which I'm talking to you about. It is about 5 behaviors personal development. Samir, can you please put the chart there as well? Yeah, thanks for that. Now, the basic difference between these two models, which you see on your left-hand side of the screen, is team development, wherein you have the assessments before you enter the training as to what it is. It is the left-hand side of the pyramid. And post the training, what are the kind of results you get? And you have 3 categories there, red, amber, and green, with the scale of 5. And where is your team? This is more applicable for an intact team, where you are a group of 10, 12 people together and reporting into one common boss. This kind of 5 behaviors team development applies there. As far as 5 behaviors for personal development is more or less identifying tendencies and preferences related to each construct. And let me tell you, these 5 behaviors are interlinked. And the basis starts with trust, followed by conflict, followed by commitment, accountability, ultimately results. Because all of us are working in organizations today to achieve outstanding business results. And we will try to understand in the next 45 minutes as to what are the barriers connected to each behavior and how can we kind of move away from those barriers, break those barriers, and be more successful on teams. Also, let me tell you, friends here, personal development, 5 behaviors, personal development. Samir, just stay on that slide for a second, please. Is independent of hierarchies. Anyone in the organization can do this program, whether he or she is an individual contributor or an area sales manager, regional manager, vice president, CXO. He or she can do it for his own benefit in improving his leadership qualities or her leadership qualities, addressing those 5 behaviors. By and large, you must have now understood how critical these 5 behaviors are. I would just pause for a second and would like to invite some reactions from you. And you can use the annotation on the chat box saying yes, if you see the participant list there on the right-hand side of your screen. If you agree with me that these are the most important behaviors for us to be successful in an organization, you can press the button yes, which is green in color. I'll wait for your reaction. Or simply type yes in the chat box. Great. I'm seeing a lot of reactions. Unfortunately, I can't go through that because it's moving very fast. I need to focus on the presentation. But yes, I mean, I know it was a leading question. We all know that these 5 behaviors will help us to be a better contributor as far as team is concerned. Excellent. Samir, can you please move on to the next slide? Yeah, in terms of difference, I was trying to kind of bring out the difference between 5 behaviors team development and 5 behaviors personal development. 5 behaviors team development is specific to a particular dysfunction identified within the team. Recently, we had a client and the CEO of the client came up to us and said that, I want you to do this program because there is a deficit as far as trust is concerned within my team. Nobody wants to talk to each other. Everyone maintains, artificial harmony. And we ran this program, believe you me, the result was outstanding because it opened up their eyes somewhere where we're on the mode of self-reflection and trying to analyze as to what he or she has done in the past 2 or 3 years of working together. On the face value, we say collaboration, but inside the layers are different and the feelings are very different. That is what team development addresses. It creates a team credo in terms of, where we talk about our own set of beliefs and the way we can influence, the way you live your life is what is the credo all about. Next, it also empowers one team, one voice. So that is what team development is all about. When you talk about this new program, personal development, it is about me as an individual in the team. What effect do I have on the team? How does it expand into the organization? And also empowers collaborative organizational team culture. My friends, the word collaborative is super important in this particular slide. How do you become empowered? How do you empower others? And how do you have collaborative organizational team culture? Yeah. Yeah, you see, this is the network of teams. Can someone kind of decode this slide for me? If someone is interested, he or she can unmute and give it a shot, give it an attempt. Let's see how it goes. Anyone? Doesn't matter what's the right answer or wrong answer.
It's basically the cross-functional team couldn't understand.
Excellent, Mangesh.
Yeah, it shows our dependency on each other, different teams.
Yes, Shashi, that's right. Mangesh, that's a good answer. Correct. You know what it's also trying to say is that we are or were in a silo as a team, and the world has changed so much over the last 3-4 decades now that it's high time that we start working cross-functionally. We are depending on other teams as well. When you have networks of team, the shared values, the transformational goals or transparent goals and informational flow becomes very, very important for the success of teams. And I, as an individual, when I do this program of personal development, how can I be a contributor in the team? Sometimes there is a reverse question also. Are you a contributor in the team, or are you a consumer of the team where you take over the energy and time of the team? So those are the questions more or less we'll be kind of trying to evaluate and see through this next about 45 minutes or maybe 40 minutes. Again, I repeat, if you have any question, please unmute yourself or put it on the chat box. My colleague Anibhuti can kind of ask those questions to me. Now, 5 behaviors personal development basically comes in these two for things which you see on the screen. On your left-hand side, you see the facilitation kit. Now, this is for the trainers who want to get certified on this program and can procure this facilitation kit, which is specific to personal development. Please don't get confused that this kit can be used for team development as well. No, this is specific to personal development. And the most important thing is the right-hand side of the screen, which is the report or the result of your assessment. So you undergo a self-assessment, and then the results are kind of published on this report. This is a very comprehensive report comprising of about 23 pages. In the next few slides, I will be only talking about these reports and what impact and effect it has as far as your personal development addressing those 5 behaviors are.
Hey, Amar.
Yes.
Just a quick question on the previous slide.
Yes,
I'll not take too much of time. Just if
GG.
you can go one slide back, please. Here we talk about the cross collaboration and the shared values. So are we indicating unless there is equal share of interest to the cross-functional teams, we cannot extract the best from those teams? Like in other words, if those teams doesn't have a fair share, they might think, why the heck I should contribute to this? Are we saying it is essential to have a common goal?
Yes,
And what if a situation arises if there is no common interest? How do we manage that?
yes, Raghunandan, that's a very valid and a very pointed question. It's high time that, we take cognizance of different teams within the organizations, because if we continue to remain in silos, the common goals or the common objectives of an organization will not be addressed. And yes, if I don't hold myself accountable, I have no rights to hold you accountable. So accountability is multi-directional, and that is what one of the behaviors talks about in the next few slides. So I have to take care of you. I need to respect you. I need to break that silo and start extending my hand for you to kind of extend your hand. As they say in English, it takes two to tango. Similar is the case here. And this is getting more and more complex, especially when you're talking about matrix organizations. I have a boss who's sitting in Delhi, Gurgaon, and I have another dotted line manager sitting in Sydney, Australia, and third person could be in Korea somewhere. So it is getting more and more complex as we move by the day.
Yeah. Thank you, Amar.
Hi, Amar.
Hi.
Adit is asking that if this personal development assessment can be triggered through the Epic account.
Hey, Adit, good to see you here, man. You have been super active in all the webinars. Lovely, welcome.
Thank you, Amar.
Yes, Adit, of course, you can trigger the assessments from the Epic portal, not only for personal development, but also for team development as well. So we'll talk about it later. We'll connect with you and give you more information there.
Thank you.
Excellent. Can we move on, please? Now, as I said in my previous slides, that it's all about the report. And the report is so cumbersome, and it comprises, as I said, 23 pages of extensive advice on your behaviors. And the flow is as shown on the screen here. It starts with the introduction of 5 behaviors model. It explains your role in building the team as to what you need to do as an individual. Believe you me or mind you, this is about your personal development. So it talks about your role and your contribution in the team. Then on, it talks about each and every behavior. It gives a good introduction, a very, very descriptive introduction as to what trust is or conflict is or commitment is, and so on and so forth. How do you play out? That is that what is your strength? What do you need? How do you play out? What is your strength? How do you behave when you're under stress? It also gives you the change which is needed, which you need to address. And at the end of every behavior, you get a goal and an action plan which you can put into place. Believe you me, it may sound complex, but it is a very, very simple process of improving our behaviors. As I said, all the 5 behaviors are interconnected and interlinked. It provides a rationale in building each behavior as we move on from one behavior to the next behavior. And at the end of the report, more or less, you will be seeing the summary of learnings, and also it helps you to kind of come up with a plan of action to reinforce what is your learning. So the post-training or post-assessment follow-ups are very, very strong as far as this particular program is concerned. I will stop here for a second, and I would like to again invite your reactions. We do have a sample report with us, but you know what? I'm very, very stingy in sharing information. So if I get a yes from you on the chat box that you'd like to receive the sample report, I'll ensure that my team members are sending those reports to you. So I'll pause to you for a minute, for a second or two. And if someone needs a report, please let me know. I'll be happy to send it across to the concerned. Anubhuti, please make sure that you're having this chat, and Samir, of course, you're recording. Post the recording, we'll get the transcript of the chat, and then we can send it to the concerned people who are saying yes. My friends, as I said, I'm stingy. I'll only give it to people who say yes. Thank you. Let's move on. Now, here is the introduction to the 5 behaviors. As I said, this comes from Patrick Lencioni's best-selling book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it has been in action for over the last 15 years. Although, when we talk about this particular 5 behaviors, it takes a lot of persistence. It takes a lot of hard work, but people have been using successfully Lencioni's model to not only to improve their careers or professional life, but also improve their lives in their personal domain. Of course, it has got a direct bearing as far as teams are concerned.
Hi, Amar, we have a question.
Yes, please.
How one or a team can be accounted for a good cross-functional source if the organization does not have a common platform for communication among different teams? Virender wants to ask this question.
Sorry, can you repeat the question very quickly for me?
Yeah, sure. How one or a team can be accounted for a good cross-functional source if the organization does not have a common platform for communication among the different teams?
Well, Virender, this is about you, right? So it's about Virender. I Virender, want to kind of go and reach out to the other team members. Maybe my organization does not have that kind of medium where I can reach out. But as an individual, when you are kind of undergoing this program and addressing those 5 behaviors, maybe you start baby steps to kind of reach out to your team members or to your fellow colleagues in a different team, even in a different geographical location. Doesn't matter. It does not stop you at all. On the contrary, I think if you start doing that, it will really build your relationship and the rapport which you need to kind of get the job done. Believe you, my friend, it takes the first step for a great journey.
Fine, Amar, thank you. Thank you so much for your response.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Now, what you're talking here about is trust, the first model. Samir, can you please go back and stay there for a minute, because this is the foundation of the whole presentation, and I'll spend good 1 or 2 minutes here on this particular slide. Thanks, my friend. Now, trust, it's the value you'll place on developing relationships and expressing yourself. You may be naturally sometimes inclined to, kind of open up to team members and be honest about your feelings. When you are able to do this, we call this as a trust of vulnerability. What is vulnerability? Now, vulnerability is basically, talking about, let the guard down, be open, admit that you're wrong somewhere. Yeah, admit your flaws, ask for help. In my 26 years of career, I have seen so much that, people are so hesitant and insecure when they want to ask for help, because people invariably interpret it as a weakness. On the contrary to the popular belief, this is my belief, my friends, this is my personal belief, I may be wrong, and this is my humble submission to all of you. On the contrary, if a person in the team is raising his or her hand and asking for help, I call it the act of courage. You need to be courageous. And that is what is the foundation of trust, where you are being vulnerable and admitting, hey, you know what? I'm not very good with advanced Excel sheets. Can someone help me how to do it? It can be as simple as that. But that's how the foundation of trust starts. The second thing is about conflict. Engage in a conflict. When there is trust, where people are able to kind of engage in a dialogue without any hesitation, can have constructive debates and kind of discuss. The second behavior is conflict, which is again interlocked into commitment. When you have the trust in place, you are able to ideate and come out with healthy debates. It creates the environment of trust or conflict, where the debates which are focused on concepts, ideas, and it should move with a mean spirit and personal attacks. Sometimes in the meetings when we kind of have the sarcasm or indirect comments for the other team members. Now that is a show spoiler for sure. So you need to move away and focus in terms of conflict, or I'm talking about arguments and debates, which is addressing the concepts and ideas. Further on to conflict, if you have those ideas coming through, you are able to have commitment there. Commitment to come to decisions where people are able to offer their opinions and are able to commit to decisions. If all of us, say for example, are in a room and we are 10 people sitting and discussing a project, And if everyone is contributing and giving their ideas and we're coming to one common decision, what do you think would be the impact as far as that particular decision? And what is the commitment for me to kind of go after that particular decision or that goal? It will be high. Why? Because I was part of the team. I also contributed to that. That sometimes gets diluted in the discussions because I may be a very dominating guy and I may have the tendency to bulldoze you upside, and I kind of, kind of bulldoze you and roll you down. In that case, this becomes a challenge. So this is the kind of things which will be kind of discussed in the report very in detail. Of course, I don't have the bandwidth or the time to kind of go into the nitty-gritties of each and every behavior. Commitment will ultimately lead to accountability. As I said, accountability is basically about having everyone a clear path of action where we are able to and willing to hold each other accountable. Accountability is a two-way street. Just because I'm Anubhuti's team leader or I'm her boss doesn't mean that I only hold her accountable. On the contrary, even she should have the freedom and the empowerment for her to hold me accountable. When collectively we have all those four behaviors in line, it ultimately culminates into the results which we all are working for. That's how the model of five behaviors or the framework of a cohesive team looks like. I'll pause for a second or two. If you have any questions or any comments to make, please use the chat box, or you can even sometimes unmute yourself.
So Amar, there are a few questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Shankaran wants to ask you that sometimes conflict used to become based on the experienced seniors, even though not sufficiently qualified to do that particular project.
Yes. Yes, Shankar, a good question. Just because I have 25 years of experience doesn't know that I'm the man, I'm the boss, I know everything, you know nothing. That happens a lot in many organizations. But again, the idea is not to get personal with that kind of people. My request would be you can address this by two ways. As I said, there is also a program of five behaviors for team development. If a collective people, a group of people who have an intact team can kind of attend that program, it will kind of open up. What we want here is for us to start opening up and showing vulnerability. And that can only happen by reinforcement and reiterating these kind of topics, subjects, and discussions. Companies should start encouraging more and more for people to come out and kind of have this kind of discussions. And this particular program gives you a very structured and a systematic manner of addressing this. I believe you me, it is not easy when someone says, I find you very egoistic and dominating. And someone makes that kind of a statement in front of 10 people, I might lose my cool or I might do something stupid. So to avoid from all those things, this program gives you a very, very systematic, and I'll use the word humble way of approaching those seniors when you are able to undergo this program. I would suggest, Shankaran, one thing is that, maybe we send you the sample report, and that will kind of give you good amount of understanding as to how you can address this particular problem which you have as a conflict in your company or in your team.
Okay, one more question, Amar, from Adit, that in organizations with low trust environment, people generally give high score to trust due to fear, but actually the real picture is different. So how should we deal with that?
Yeah, so as I said, Adit, if you are able to kind of look at an intact team and you have the CXO level kind of people in there, and if you are able to sell the idea of going for team development assessments and the debrief, that will help you to address this issue. And it will slowly but surely start opening up. People will start coming out of their silos, they will start coming out of the shells, because even Yogesh has done many programs in the past, and these were one of the issues a lot of companies had. And this is how you kind of address it by undergoing the team development program. Samir, can you please mute everyone? It's a lot of disturbance out here. In your opinion, experience, is teamwork more effective in situations when there is more hierarchy or when the team structure is more flat? Okay, Arvind, I'll answer that. You see, teamwork is not dependent on hierarchy or the structure flat. It is about the value. It is about the behavior which you want to exhibit. So how open the team is to work on the teamwork is the question here. A particular org structure or a particular organization where the hierarchy is flat is not the criteria. It is how willing you are and open you are to address this. Are we empowered? Do we have that kind of trust with each other to start this kind of discussions? Okay, I'll continue to move on now. Thanks. So this is what I was talking to you about. Just a recap very quickly here. Yes, Samir. Yeah, can you move to the next slide?
Amar, Yogesh, there's a question by Ganeshan. He's saying how to establish this in cross-functional teams. So would you like to answer that now or later?
Yogesh, would you like to answer that?
You want me to?
Yeah, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, sure. So, when we say is that if you're looking at two programs you're talking about, primarily the functional part of it, at the personal level. The best thing is to, just if you can ask these team members in a team to take an assessment, which you were talking about earlier. And it is so explanatory, self-explanatory that you don't have to do anything beyond that. Because it kind of measures two things. It measures, one is that, what is the team's cumulative score on each of these parameters? You saw those amber and red and green. On a scale of 1 to 5, what is the score on each component? And where this score is coming from, because each component is subdivided into certain behaviors. So they become, it is like, it gets skimmed through and comes to the surface. Where is the problem and what you need to do? Because that report is not only diagnostic, but also prescriptive. It doesn't bring in any actions from its side or recommendation. It skims through what preferences team members are saying and throws that up as top 3 to 4 options. If you can implement, your team score will improve. And most of the times, whenever we have done 5 behaviors for a cohesive team, we have seen that on the parameters of trust, conflict, or commitment, or accountability, generally teams score very low, 2.5 to 3. Average team scores 3.5 at best. But once they go through the process and put things into place, the score starts moving. And the best part is, you and I don't have to tell them this is the problem. The best part is that the problem gets surfaced based on the responses they have given. And the second part of that report in 5 behaviors is about your disk preferences. So it tells you individual disk preferences also. So, that's a part about 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, but the team which you're asking about. But then at the same time, in cross-functional team, we can do more of personal development profile. Again, the profile which is we were talking about earlier, and it throws out those kind of strengths or not so strong areas at personal level also. In case you need to have further information, we'll be happy to share it after maybe the webinar, or you can write to us, or we can send more literature to you, send videos to you, because there's a lot of research and a lot of material available in this context, which establishes what we are saying here to you. Okay, so thanks a lot for asking that question, Ganeshan. Amar, carry on, please.
Thank you, Yogesh, for those insights. Very, very helpful. Thank you very much. Yeah, Samir, can you please move on to the? Yeah, this is the slide which I want to talk. So this is the snapshot of the sample report, or the report which you will get in case you undergo this assessment. It all starts with you. And here, they're taking an example of a lady, Sabina, who has appeared or has kind of done the assessment. And this is her report. So we're kind of giving you an illustration of a sample report here. Now, what you see on your right-hand side is that, there is so much of personalization that, Samir, can you make a click here now? Yeah, a couple of more, please. Yeah, that's you. Thank you. That's excellent. Thank you for that. Now, what does that tell you is that, you see the tick mark there. Basically, it is true for you. X, it doesn't fit you. And question mark, some comments or some observations based on the assessment may come to you as a surprise. So that's the whole beauty. And this is how the whole report kind of starts. As I said at the start of the program or the webinar that, I'll be just taking you through the report because that's the crux of the story at the end of the day. Can we move on, please? Yeah, trust. So in terms of trust, what you need is that with the strengths which you have or the knowledge which you carry, you kind of need to start looking at the possibilities of developing good trust habits. Now, what I mean by good trust habits, it's right there in front of you on the screen. The report tells you, create space for people to admit mistakes and weaknesses. This is how you build trust, which is based on vulnerability. Don't take team members' reserve personally. If someone is not sharing his ideas or not talking much or going into a silo, you should not be taking. This is for Sabina. It doesn't mean for everyone. There could be a different interpretation altogether if someone else is doing this report. So this is particularly for Sabina, as I said, is a sample report. Don't take teammates' reserves personally. And also please be ready to apologize. Now that's again a big problem for most of us. Saying sorry, moving on, saying I apologize for my bad behavior or something which I did wrong, was not right. I don't appreciate it, but I'm so sorry for this. Now this is what is the author trying to kind of bring out in terms of building vulnerability-based trust. Now, the beauty of this report, as far as Sabina is concerned, she has about 3 options here: create space, don't take teammates' reserve personally, and readily apologize. What she needs to do of this report is pick one particular habit and put it into the practice. What you see at the bottom of the screen is this is a kind of a to-do list as far as Sabina is concerned. What is that she wants to pick up and that she can incorporate as far as improving her trust thing is concerned. So as in a summary or in a nutshell, what I was trying to tell you that, you need being vulnerable. And then this report tells you, choose one of the habits which you want to put it into practice. And when you put that into practice, what is the benefit it's going to bring to you is what you need to write there. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just the recap of the same thing which I kind of explained to you about the previous slide. Conflict, yes.
Hi, Amar.
Yes, please.
So, Magesh has made a point that generally in Indian mentality, if things are going good, people tend to take the credit and otherwise they pass the buck to the other person, which raises the conflicts and accountability. So, would you like to throw some light on the point?
Yes, Mangesh, I would, with my limited experience, and please pardon me, generally this is not about Indian mentality, my friend. This is across the globe. I have traveled a bit, and this is not only in India. This happens in the US, it happens in the Europe, it also happens in Africa, Australia. It happens. When everything is going right, my team is doing well, I kind of take the credit and go up to my boss and say, we did it. And when something goes wrong, I start pushing the blame onto my team members, saying that, they did a poor job. So sorry, what can I do? But it's the contrary to popular belief. When something is going right, let the team take credit. When something is going wrong, you need to kind of retrospect, look into yourself, have a self-reflection as to what is going on. Now, when we have that kind of leadership quality in us, a lot of things can get, solved and resolved. So yeah, that's more to do with mindset of an issue.
So, Amar, he's asking that the culture of who went wrong instead of what went wrong is the barrier of transparency. So, how can we deal with the same? How can we manage that dilemma?
Yeah. Again, that I would say that for me, it starts with being vulnerable. Who went wrong is about a blame game. It is about pointing fingers. Who went wrong or who went wrong is more of a blame game, pointing fingers at someone. Instead, what went wrong is more about structuring around the process or the systems in place and checking for that. When we are able to kind of start looking at the process or the system around a particular project or an objective which you want to achieve, believe you me, the individual blame game will start reducing. But of course, it takes a mindset. And as I keep saying again and again, once these kind of training programs or the assessments are kind of rendered by yourself and your team, it opens up. a lot. It helps you to kind of understand and see those gaps as far as those 5 vital behaviors are concerned.
Okay, Amar, so one more question from Siddharth, that are these reports developed on the basis of an algorithm, or is there human input in these reports?
Yes, it's a good question. It's both. What's the gentleman's name who has asked this question?
Siddharth.
Siddharth, yes, it is definitely based on an algorithm. And Wiley has a huge database and years of research in terms of behavior. They are the masters as far as everything DISC is concerned, which is a psychometric assessment. Based on the database, they have come up with a very, very complex algorithm. Don't ask me what is the algorithm. I'm very, very ignorant there. I don't know the answer. But yeah, it's highly researched, very, very scientific mechanism in place. And that's how these reports are generated.
And Amar, Yogesh, if me add here, every assessment which we do at Wiley, whether this is DISC for managers or 5 behaviors or work of leaders for vision alignment execution, or say DISC for sales, individual, everything based, or productive conflict, and you name it, the programs which we've got. The assessments are all very adaptive. Adaptive means there's no standard set of questions everybody go to. There are the number of questions which people face are fixed, but if they are trying to bypass certain pattern, or the questions answers are skewing in a particular direction, the adaptive assessment changes the questions at the back end. So, it's a kind of, its reliability and validity is pretty high on Cronbach alpha score. And that's why we are so proudly saying that this is all based on research. And once we do this assessment, it kind of tells me who I am as a team member. What are my strengths? What I need to change? What is that I can do more effectively to become a contributing team member? But it's a very personal choice. If someone doesn't want to become an effective team member and he wants to be a sport, he may be a case, or she may be a case for counseling. But at the end of the day, most of us, the fundamental belief is that most of us want to contribute. Most of us don't go to the work saying, today I want to demolish him, or today I want to do harm to someone. There are some people like that, I don't deny that. But if you look at the bell curve concept, though we don't appreciate and advocate that in our corporates, but in this kind of thing, when we are saying is that the bell curve is something which people are there on both the sides. But it is both 85-90% people what they are doing, and that's what we like to focus on. The 5% on the positive side, they will do good things in any case. The 5% always there, they will eventually get caught up in their career or face the consequences or pay the price. But what we're saying here is that when you look at these assessments, they are based on majority of people, their behaviors across the globe, the sample size, and then looking at what works and what doesn't work. And then obviously it is not only telling us where I am, as Amar was explaining earlier, but it also tells me what I can make changes to improve my score. And though if I am able to improve my scores, what are the benefits to me and what are the benefits to team? And at a certain level of maturity, this is the first sign of being aware. And then being aware is also there after that is, getting the areas where you need to work on to improve. And we also have got our own practice executive coaching. If someone is kind of, getting too much into this side or that side, many times we work with him or as an executive coach, and take care of things. And that's how the entire package or journey for that individual can be. Thank you, Amar.
Thank you, Yogesh. Thanks for that. So going back to conflict, so you have certain options out there where you can pick and choose and put it into practice. And the most important thing is, what's the benefit you will get out of practicing that particular habit? Yeah. Samir, can you please move on to the next slide? Now, let's take, I know I'm running short of time, but I think I wanted to do this, but I don't know whether I'll be able to accommodate the time. Is that one on the right hand side, you see spirited debater, and on the left hand side, you see spirited debater, and on the right hand side, you see calm debater. And of course, there is a center point on this particular line. This is a continuum. What I would just very quickly ask you is, select whether you are on the left hand side or right hand side, or you're on the center, and you can put your comments or your responses in the chat box very quickly, please. Okay. Yeah, so we're getting a lot of responses from people. Some are, on the left, some are, it's left, right, and center, if I may sum up. Yeah. This is now your assumption. The beauty is that once you take this assessment, it gives you a precise black dot on that particular line and gives you a whole narration as to what it is to be a spirited debater. If you're not a spirited debater and you are kind of leaning towards calm debater, what is the action plan you need to inculcate is what the report talks to you about. So that's what I wanted to bring out in this particular activity. Same, are you very receptive, which is on the left-hand side? Are you steadfast? You hold to your opinions very firmly, and the dot comes out in this, and it gives you a deep explanation as to what you need to do in terms of improving your behavior pertaining to conflict. Now, the next one is very quickly we kind of talk about commitment. So once you have trust in place, and it is an interlocking or interconnecting habits, so trust followed by conflict will help you to have commitment. Why? Because in conflict situations, we want to debate healthily, we want to ideate, we want to agree disagreeably and come to a consensus or a common objective which we want to achieve. Once we have that in place, achieving commitment becomes easier. Why? Because all of us are involved in that. That is what is this particular slide, which is talking about commitment addressing. Slow down to ensure clarity. Now, these are certain, no, hang on, Samir. Slow down to ensure clarity. Make sure everyone has a chance to air their doubts and concerns. Support group decisions even when you don't agree with them. These are some of the pointers to Sabina, where she can pick one of these habits and write down the benefit which she'll get out of this. I keep reinforcing it because, this is so simple. And once we kind of start doing this, it will completely change our life. It's not going to be easy. Life is not going to get changed overnight, but a gradual journey, a progress will happen. You will see the results coming through. Next slide, please.
Hey, Amar, a quick question here. Sorry to interrupt, because this is, I have to ask in this juncture. With regarding to trust and conflict, right? The commitment is possible. Don't you think it's also equally important to manage the egos? Because you might get a trust, you might get there might be a conflict of ideas, but if you have still egos persisting, how will you get a commitment from that situation?
Yeah, so the fundamental of this particular model is starting with trust. When you are able to address trust, and especially vulnerability based trust, my friend, you are also directly or indirectly addressing the ego issue. And as I said, it's a practice which we need to bring in, but at least you get to know where you are on that bell curve as far as the trust factor is concerned. That report shows you, where you are and what you are. It also addresses directly or indirectly, though it does not mention specifically about ego, but trust factor does address the ego side of the story.
Thank you.
Go get it or get over with it. Now, this is in terms of commitment. When you are having a team of people and you are kind of focusing on a particular business result or an objective which you want to achieve, a business goal you want to achieve, you have two options on the table there. I ask you a question. We have certain uncertainties as far as this particular project is. What do we need to do as a team? Do we go and look at those concerns, so go and get it and get clarity out there? Or we have a decision, or we can make another decision. Maybe that concern is still there, but can we move on? Can we get over with it? And can we kind of have a consensus and the commitment to move on? Because, for me, what worked so far is that if I had a plan or a business plan which is 70-80% right, I don't wait for 100% perfection there. I start rolling the ball in the right direction. So I get over with it. Then I say, if there's some barriers or concerns coming through, let's kind of work on it as we kind of progress on this particular project. So that is what is get over with it and move on. So these are the choices which we make. But again, I would like to reinforce, this has to be done taking everyone's point of views and ideas into consideration. Samir, next slide, please. Accountability. Accountability can be very, very uncomfortable for many of us. Holding people accountable, somewhere I have this fear or insecurity. where, if I hold Samir accountable and, he may feel bad, he may feel offended. I don't know how is he going to react to me. But, the best way of developing good accountability habits is first of all to hold yourself accountable. And that starts, as I said, keep saying that it starts with vulnerability-based trust. And, some suggestions here on the chart, or sorry, on the slide here, in terms of developing good accountability habits. Accept questions and inputs from the team members, tendencies to be outgoing and hold team members accountable, and also follow through on your personal commitments. And you also need to know that you also need to be accountable. Same thing, pick one of those habits, put it into practice, and what benefits will it bring it to you? I'm moving slightly fast because we're running short of time. Ultimate culmination of these 4 habits kind of go up to results. Connecting accountability and results, is what the focus is. No matter whether the individual responsibilities and areas of expertise you are, the team has to accomplish its goals. So based on these 4 habits, if you are able to kind of understand the 4 habits, this kind of gives you results when you're talking in terms of common goals or business goals which you want to achieve. So again, the snapshot of the report here: maintain your focus on the end goal, take failures seriously, help inspire the sense of team spirit and common purpose. Pick one of those and ask yourself, what benefit do I bring to the table? So that's how the results matrix looks like. Samir? Yeah, next slide. Yeah. Now here at the end of the report, you will get something like this known as summary and action. Given what you've learned today, choose one of the habits which you want to focus first. So in this case, it is trust. Turn to how to in terms of the page number and all they say. And the answer there is create space for people to admit mistakes. This is basically for Sabina, and admit mistakes and weaknesses. What are you going to do tomorrow? So she says, I'm going to have a discussion with my boss, Susanna, and my focus would be on trust and what I plan to do. And then after 2 weeks, I'll be talking to my fellow colleague, Valley, about his thoughts around the project and demonstrate empathy and thank team members to take a chance and appreciate them for their being vulnerable. So this is the kind of snapshot which I kind of tried to create in the last 45 minutes. What's the next slide there, Samir? Can you please? Yeah. So that's where I kind of come to an end as far as my talking to all of you is concerned. I leave the forum open for the next 8 minutes in case of questions or even for that matter, my friends, you also come with good amount of experience. You guys are working in professional setup also. So if you have a comment or two or a suggestion or two for the team, for the participants out here, we'll love to invite your reactions here. Thank you.
Amar, so we have a common question here from many people, that what is the difference between accountability and ownership, or say accountability and responsibility?
Yogesh, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, so the way accountability is looked at, there are different definitions of accountability and different perspective on them. But the way we define is responsibility for action and answerability for the outcome. I repeat, responsibility for the action and answerability for the outcome in the mutually agreed expectations or goals. The accountability can only start if we have agreed to something together. And then there is, the responsibility and answerability comes into play. I'm responsible to do some actions. I'm responsible to take care of few things. But my answerability doesn't end there. If manager asks me, where are your numbers? I can't say I made 10 calls. Because you're not supposed to be making calls just for nothing. You're supposed to be making calls to get the business result. So the responsibility and answerability are the two components of accountability, the way we look at it. Now, it's a very different thing that many times as leaders or managers, we start holding people accountable without clearly setting goals or expectations. And people wonder, why are you asking me this question? The problem comes in when the goal setting itself or the expectation setting is not clear. And we expect people to do that, as basic as, someone coming in meetings on time or sending reports in time. We don't set clear goals and expectations, and we kind of try to hold them accountable. And many times we keep quiet and suddenly one day I burst out. It happens in personal spheres, family spheres, and these days it's happening even more because people are staying back at home and they're discovering, the true selves of each other, as someone was saying the other day. So it is a setting up of expectations. The second part with the problem with accountability is people do not know the skills how to hold people accountable. Either they are scared of having those conversations, or they are scared of that if I hold him or her accountable, particularly at peer level, he will also hold me accountable. And they shy away from that discussion. And we have seen it across cultures, across organizations, that accountability is one of the key things organizations to build on. And more they talk about it, more they discover that less of accountability they have. It is a nice word to talk about. It is nice to have discussion around. But if someone is trying to hold me accountable, I get into a problem. And if someone is trying to hold me accountable without even clarifying expectations, the problem is even bigger. So that is how we tend to look at it. Thank you, Amar.
Thanks, Yogesh, for that.
Amar, one more question from Jitendra, that they have seen in organizations that due to a lot of bad politics, there is some person who is putting in efforts and doing some work, and the other person takes the credit away. So due to bad politics, there are a lot of conflicts in an organization or say in a team. So how can we manage that or deal with it?
Well, that's what this program is actually addressing about, right? I mean, I think I answered this question previously as well. Someone had asked me the same kind of question. As I said, this program or this particular training or the assessment is talking to you about the 5 behaviors. So my request to Jitendra would be that, why don't you kind of give it a try and look at doing this assessment for yourself first. It opens up your thinking. And once it kind of opens up your thinking, you can, kind of understand what is your strength and what is your weakness, and how can you kind of go and engage with that kind of a person. Most of us in an organization or in life have good intentions. Very few people are very rigid and stubborn and they don't want to budge from that. But that's the choice which they are making. I can't kind of pan out and understand what's going on in your organization, but somewhere or the else, somewhere or the else, they will realize it, or even if they don't realize it, you are making an effort to kind of look at your personal development and how can you be a better contributor as far as the team is concerned. So it starts with you. And as I said at the start of the program, we also have 5 behaviors for team development. If you're a collective group of people and working for one boss as an intact team, you can even look at doing that particular assessment, which opens up your eyes and makes you understand how you are trending as far as team is concerned based on those 5 behaviors.
There's an interesting question from Duraivilan. He says, if the accountability differs based on the results, how to manage?
So, I would throw, Yogesh, go ahead, please.
No, I'm saying is that accountability can be one-on-one accountability or team accountability. So it depends on what we are talking about here. Results could be for the team or results could be individuals, but generally the team results are based on individual results because that's why put into place to begin with. So accountability discussion generally begins with one-on-one because one or two person must be dragging it down or one or two people must be taking it higher, and average of their efforts is the output for the team. So what we say here is that you need to define accountability for teams separately, then accountability for individuals. Because as we said, accountability have got 2 components, responsibility and answerability. Responsibility is more to what I'm supposed to be doing in terms of action on day-to-day basis, and accountability and answerability is on the output, why I'm doing those actions which I'm taking. And if that is clear, the discussion becomes clear. Then there's a question of how do I hold people accountable? There's a different set of skills we talk about in different programs. There's a program we do on accountability per se. Why they on each of these components on trust, on commitment, on collaboration, on accountability, and how to get results. We got detailed programs per se if somebody is interested in that. But that's how we look at clear identification at individual or team level. Then of course have those discussions which requires a different mindset and skills. So that's how it is. Thank you, Anu.
Thanks, Yogesh. Srijit, the response to your question, yes, you can use the Epic account to roll out these assessments. I hope I answered that question to you.
Question here before we wind up is K. Magesh, he says, is accountability warrants delegation of authority to meet the purpose? Depends at what level we are. You know, many times you have to empower the person and give delegation to take care of the results, because answerability is for the results. So as we say that, you know, you are responsible for action, but answerable for the outcome. It depends upon the level of hierarchy. It depends upon the level of, person in leadership pipeline. It depends on the what kind of task is it. So there are various variables in before we answer this. So no one answer to that. Yes, it can be, but it depends on the situation. Thank you.
Okay, it is 4 o'clock, and thank you for...
One question I would like to answer here, which is very interesting from Arvind. He says, Amar, is there an inverse correlation between trust and conflict? If there is more trust among team members, then there is less conflict, and vice versa. Can be situation where there is more trust as well as more conflict. Well, there is no linear or reverse correlation. It can be both ways, but it depends upon is that what trust does it. It helps us to resolve the conflict faster. Trust doesn't mean that the conflict will not come. Higher trust does not mean that there'll be lower conflict. Higher trust actually means that whatever be the conflict, we are able to handle it better. So that's why it moves in both the direction. Trust basically enables us, empowers us, makes us mature enough, gives us the confidence and the psychological safety to handle that conflict together. So that's how we look at it, and that's what the research shows. Higher trust doesn't mean that lower conflict. Higher trust doesn't even mean higher conflict. Higher trust means because the conflict is lower, high, we will be solving it quickly. We'll be coming to decision making quickly. We'll not allow the conflict to stand in the way of getting results together. Thank you for that question.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for coming on to this webinar. Okay, there's one more question. In regards to commitment towards job, I believe all depends on each other in workplace. So good attitude requires from both sides in workplace. Common observing is that many old people have different attitude. They're working for many long years and they feel I am the only one and I know everything. Okay, I think Manoj, I answered this question. Someone has said that I have years of experience and I expect that I am the king, I am the super boss, I know everything, and you do what I say. I think I had addressed that question already. Right. So with this, we kind of come to an end for this webinar. I sincerely appreciate everyone coming and attending this webinar. Thank you very much. You see the coordinates of our team here. If you want any information about this program, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to assist you. Be safe, be healthy, be positive. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.